Gold digger rejects poor guy, then learns he's her new boss. Vanessa Hartley adjusted her Prada sunglasses as she scanned the patrons of Café Laurent, the trendiest spot in the financial district. The mid-morning sunlight filtered through the cafe's floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating her perfectly highlighted hair and the diamond tennis bracelet she treated herself to last month, a small reward for landing the Robertson account at work. "This better not be a waste of my time," she muttered, checking her phone. It was 10:03 a.m. Her date was officially 3 minutes late. She'd only agreed to this setup because Melanie, her sorority sister from college, had insisted this guy was perfect for her. Melanie's exact words had been, "He's in finance and super smart." In Vanessa's world, finance equaled money, and money equaled worth her time. A text dinged on her phone. "Sorry, running a few minutes behind. Be there soon. Ethan." Vanessa rolled her eyes and ordered another espresso, making sure the waitress noticed her Cartier watch as she gestured. Image was everything, a lesson she'd mastered early. At 32, Vanessa had built her entire life around this principle. As a senior sales associate at Maison Velle, one of the fastest-growing luxury fashion brands in the country, she understood the currency of appearances. At 10:12 a.m., the cafe door swung open. "Vanessa?" A tall man approached her table, slightly out of breath. "I'm Ethan. Sorry I'm late, subway delays." Vanessa's perfectly arched eyebrows rose slightly as she assessed him. Her heart sank immediately. Ethan Cole was handsome enough, tall with an athletic build, warm brown eyes, and a genuine smile, but his attire told her everything she needed to know. Faded jeans, a simple gray Henley, leather boots that were clearly chosen for comfort rather than style. No watch that she could see. No designer logos anywhere. "The subway?" she echoed, not bothering to hide her disappointment. "You didn't drive?" Ethan laughed as he sat down. "No point owning a car in the city. Too much hassle." Translation: can't afford one, Vanessa thought. "So, how do you know Melanie?" she asked, reaching for her espresso. "We volunteered together at a financial literacy program in underserved schools," Ethan replied, his eyes lighting up. "She mentioned you work in fashion?" For the next 45 minutes, Vanessa found herself in a surprisingly engaging conversation. Ethan was articulate and asked thoughtful questions about her career. He seemed genuinely interested in her ambitions at Maison Velle. When he spoke about his own work, he was passionate but frustratingly vague, mentioning investments and startups, but no specifics about his income or position. Red flag, Vanessa thought. Men with real money never hide it. Still, she found herself laughing at his stories and admiring the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. When he talked about a recent trip to Japan, she leaned forward despite herself. "Maybe this won't be a total write-off," she thought, reconsidering her initial assessment. Then the check arrived. Ethan glanced at it and turned to her with a casual smile. "Want to split?" The cafe seemed to go silent around them. Vanessa stared at him in disbelief, feeling her cheeks flush with embarrassment. Split the check? On a first date? As if she was some equal partner rather than someone to be impressed? "Excuse me?" she said, her voice rising slightly. A couple at the next table glanced over. Ethan looked confused. "The check, is there a problem?" "Yes, there's a problem," Vanessa said, no longer bothering to keep her voice down. "I don't split checks on dates. That's not how this works. I just thought." "You thought wrong," she snapped, gathering her Gucci handbag. "What kind of man invites a woman out and then asks her to pay? Did you also take the subway here to save a few dollars on parking?" The cafe had definitely gone quiet now. Ethan's face flushed, but he maintained his composure. "I didn't realize financial responsibility was considered a character flaw," he said calmly. Vanessa laughed, a sharp sound devoid of humor. "Financial responsibility? Is that what we're calling cheapness now?" She stood up, making sure everyone could hear her next words. "Let me give you some advice, Ethan. Women like me don't waste time on broke dreamers. We value men who understand our worth. She dropped a $20 bill on the table. That should cover my espressos. I wouldn't want you to strain your budget. As she strutted toward the door, designer heels clicking purposefully against the hardwood floor, she could feel the stares of other patrons. Good. Let them look. Let them see a woman who knew her value and wouldn't settle. Behind her, Ethan remained seated, his expression unreadable. If Vanessa had bothered to look back, she might have noticed it wasn't embarrassment or anger in his eyes. It was calculation. As she pushed through the cafe door into the bright morning sun, Vanessa was already deleting Ethan's contact information from her phone and composing a scathing text to Melanie. She had no idea that 12 minutes from now, she'd walk into a staff meeting at Maisonville where executives would announce mysterious changes coming to the company. Changes that would soon turn her carefully constructed world upside down. Or that Ethan Cole would be the one flipping it. The headquarters of Maisonville occupied 6 floors of a sleek high-rise in the city center. The reception area gleamed with white marble, illuminated fashion photographs, and a subtle scent of the brand's signature perfume pumped through hidden vents. To Vanessa, it felt like home, a home she'd fought tooth and perfectly manicured nail to inhabit. "Morning, Miss Hartley," chirped the receptionist, a young woman whose name Vanessa had never bothered to learn. "Beautiful dress." Vanessa offered a tight smile without breaking stride. The compliment was expected. Her crimson Maisonville sheath dress from last season's collection was indeed stunning, and she'd paired it with the black Louboutins she reserved for important days. After the disastrous morning date, she needed the confidence boost. The elevator whisked her to the 14th floor, where the sales and marketing teams occupied an open-concept space designed to foster creativity and collaboration. Corporate speak that Vanessa translated as "save money on walls." She made her way to her desk, deliberately passing by Robert Chambers' office. Robert, the regional marketing director, controlled the promotion she'd been eyeing for the past 8 months. "Robert," she called, pausing at his door with a practiced smile. "That tie is perfect with your complexion." "Armani?" Robert, a balding man in his early 50s with a weakness for attractive young women who noticed his fashion choices, beamed. "Good eye, Vanessa. Come in for a moment?" Inside his office, Vanessa perched on the edge of a chair, crossing her legs at just the right angle. "I finalized the Bergman proposal last night. I think you'll be impressed with the numbers." "I'm sure I will be," Robert replied, his eyes lingering a moment too long on her legs. "Actually, I'm glad you stopped by. There's a company-wide meeting at 11. Apparently, there are some significant changes coming." Vanessa's interest piqued. "What kind of changes?" "Not entirely sure," Robert admitted, lowering his voice. "But word from upstairs is that our primary investor is taking a more active role in operations. There might be a restructuring." Vanessa's mind raced with possibilities. Restructuring usually meant opportunities for those who positioned themselves correctly, and she excelled at positioning. "Thanks for the heads up," she said, standing. "I'll make sure the Bergman proposal is on your desk before the meeting." Back at her workspace, Vanessa observed the office dynamics with calculating eyes. 2 junior associates were huddled by the water cooler, whispering anxiously. Emma Tate, a recent hire with an irritating tendency to be praised for her fresh ideas, was typing frantically at her computer. Emma glanced up, caught Vanessa looking, and offered a hesitant smile. Vanessa didn't return it. Since Emma's arrival 3 months ago, Robert had mentioned her potential twice in team meetings. That made her a threat. "Heard about the meeting?" Brady, a fellow sales associate with less seniority but more connections, leaned against her desk. "Just now," Vanessa confirmed. "What's your take?" Brady shrugged. "My cousin works in legal. Says there's been a flurry of paperwork the past 2 weeks. Ownership stuff." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. Maisonville had been founded 15 years ago by French designer Antoine Velle, but the real money had come from a silent investor who'd bankrolled the company's expansion 5 years ago. Nobody knew much about this mysterious benefactor except that they had exceptional business acumen and preferred anonymity. "Maybe old Antoine is finally cashing out," Vanessa suggested. Maybe, Brady agreed. Whatever it is, I heard Caroline from HR crying in the bathroom earlier. That was concerning. Caroline wasn't the crying type. Any other rumors? Vanessa asked, lowering her voice. Brady leaned closer. They fired Phillips this morning. Vanessa's carefully neutral expression slipped. James Phillips had been, the CFO, a company veteran with over a decade of service. That's unexpected, she managed. And Davis is packing up his office right now, Brady added, referring to the head of production. A knot of anxiety formed in Vanessa's stomach, but she quickly reframed the situation. Chaos meant opportunity. If senior positions were opening up, her path to promotion could accelerate dramatically. She just needed to ensure she was seen as essential during the transition. Thanks for the intel, she said to Brady, already turning to her computer. I need to finish something for Robert before the meeting. The next hour was a blur of calculated networking. Vanessa made sure to be seen working diligently while also circulating just enough to gather information. More concerning details emerged. 3 senior managers gone, HR scheduling back-to-back meetings all afternoon, i.e. changing security protocols. By 10:50 a.m., the office was humming with tension. Vanessa positioned herself strategically beside Robert as they all filed into the main conference room. She noticed Emma had somehow secured a seat near the front, her portfolio ready as if she expected to take notes for whoever was leading the meeting. Presumptuous little climber, Vanessa thought with irritation. The room filled quickly. At precisely 11 a.m., Regina Morris, the company's longtime HR director, entered with a tense smile. Good morning, everyone, she began. Thank you for gathering on such short notice. As some of you may have heard, Maisonville is undergoing significant changes effective immediately. The room fell silent. For the past 5 years, our growth has been supported by a primary investment partner who has, until now, remained hands-off in daily operations. Today, I'm pleased to announce that this partner will be taking a more active role in the company's direction. Regina glanced at the door. I'd like to introduce you to the principal owner of Maisonville, who will outline his vision for the company's future. The door opened, and a man in an impeccably tailored navy suit walked in. Vanessa's blood turned to ice. It was Ethan Cole. His eyes swept the room with quiet authority, pausing for just a fraction of a second as they landed on Vanessa's shocked face. If he was surprised to see her, he didn't show it. Instead, a small, enigmatic smile touched his lips before he continued scanning the assembled staff. Good morning, he said, his voice confident and commanding, nothing like the casual tone he'd used at the cafe. I'm Ethan Cole, and as Ms. Morris indicated, I'm the principal investor behind Maisonville. Vanessa felt the room spinning slightly. The broke dreamer she'd publicly humiliated 3 hours ago wasn't broke at all. He was her boss. Worse, he owned the company. I look forward to working with each of you as we enter this new chapter. Ethan continued. There will be changes, yes, but changes designed to strengthen what already works while addressing what doesn't. His gaze drifted back to Vanessa, lingering just long enough to make her throat go dry. One thing I value above all else, he said, his eyes still on her, is authenticity. In our products, our brand image, and especially in our people. Vanessa sank deeper into her chair, her perfectly constructed world beginning to crumble around her. By mid-afternoon, Maisonville's headquarters had transformed into a hotbed of whispers and anxious glances. Vanessa sat at her desk, mechanically responding to emails while her mind raced through possible damage control strategies. The morning's catastrophic revelation, that she had publicly humiliated the company's owner, felt like a career-ending nightmare. Her phone buzzed with a text from Brady, Conference Room 3. Now. More changes coming. Vanessa smoothed her dress and tried to project confidence as she walked toward the conference room. Inside, a small group of sales and marketing staff had gathered, including Robert, and annoyingly Emma. What's happening? Vanessa asked Brady in a low voice. Entire marketing leadership team is being reshuffled, he whispered back. Roberta from the 6th floor just got promoted to Digital Strategy Director. Position didn't even exist this morning. Before Vanessa could respond, the door opened and Regina from HR entered, followed by a slender woman with silver-framed glasses whom Vanessa didn't recognize. "Thank you all for coming," Regina began. "I'd like to introduce Diane Winters, who will be joining us as the new Chief Marketing Officer, effective immediately." Murmurs rippled through the room. The CMO position had been held by Victor Sandoval for 7 years. Vanessa had carefully cultivated a relationship with Victor, ensuring he noticed her work and remembered her name at executive meetings. As part of Mr. Cole's restructuring plan, Regina continued, "We're implementing a more streamlined approach to our marketing and sales divisions. Ms. Winters will outline the new reporting structure." Diane stepped forward with a confident smile. "I'm excited to join the Maisonville team. Mr. Cole has shared his vision for a more agile, merit-based organization, and I'm here to help implement that transition." Merit-based. The phrase sent a chill down Vanessa's spine. She'd built her career on relationships and perception, not necessarily performance metrics. "Over the next week, I'll be conducting individual assessments with each team member," Diane continued. "These evaluations will focus on past contributions, current projects, and future potential." Robert shifted uncomfortably beside Vanessa. She risked a glance at him and noticed a thin sheen of sweat on his forehead. His promotion recommendations carried substantial weight, recommendations that had historically favored those who flattered his ego. "Additionally," Diane added, "Mr. Cole has authorized a complete audit of all client accounts and pitch materials from the past 18 months. He believes we need a clearer picture of which strategies truly drove our recent growth." Vanessa felt her carefully applied foundation grow damp. She had occasionally, just occasionally, taken credit for successful initiatives that weren't entirely her own. Nothing outrageous, just strategic omissions or subtle implications that had helped cement her reputation as a rising star. Would an audit reveal these small manipulations? Finally, there will be an executive board meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. All department heads should prepare a brief presentation on their team's performance metrics and strategic outlook. As the meeting dispersed, Vanessa remained seated, pretending to review notes, while internally calculating her chances of survival in this new order. Robert lingered as well, his expression grim. "Quite the shake-up," she ventured, testing the waters. Robert nodded absently. "Victor's been escorted out of the building. 15 years with the company, and they gave him 30 minutes to clear his office." Vanessa feigned sympathy while mentally distancing herself from Robert. He clearly wasn't positioned well in this new regime, which meant her association with him could become a liability. "Have you met Cole before?" Robert asked suddenly. Vanessa hesitated, her mind flashing back to that disastrous scene at Café Laurent. "No," she lied. "Have you?" "Once, at a charity event last year. Didn't realize who he was then." Robert lowered his voice. "Do you know he's only 35? Made his first million at 26 with some tech startup, then multiplied it tenfold through a series of investments." The information landed like a punch to Vanessa's stomach. The man she dismissed as a broke dreamer had been a multimillionaire before 30. "He's known for being unconventional," Robert continued. "Lives in a modest apartment, doesn't flash his wealth. Some business magazine did a profile on him last year, called him the stealth billionaire because he tests people by appearing average." Vanessa's mouth went dry. "Tests people?" Robert nodded, oblivious to her distress. "Apparently, he believes character is revealed when people don't know who you really are. Weird philosophy, but it's worked for him." The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of anxiety and strategic planning. Vanessa observed the shifting office alliances with keen interest. Those who had prided themselves on connections rather than contributions were huddled in corners, expressions worried. Meanwhile, quieter employees who had consistently delivered solid work seemed surprisingly calm amid the chaos. By 5 o'clock, another wave of changes had been announced. 2 more executives were out. A talented graphic designer who had been repeatedly passed over for promotion was now leading the visual branding team. The message was becoming clear. Merit was trumping. As Vanessa gathered her things to leave, her desk phone rang. The caller ID showed E. Cole's office. Her heart nearly stopped. "Vanessa Hartley," she answered, striving for a professional tone. "Ms. Hartley," came a crisp female voice. "Mr. Cole requests your presence at tomorrow's executive meeting. 9 a.m. boardroom A." Vanessa gripped the edge of her desk. "I understand the department heads will be there." "I'm not. Mr. Cole specifically added you to the list," the assistant interrupted. "He mentioned something about gaining perspective from all levels of the organization." There was a pause then. "He also said to tell you the dress code is business formal, not casual. He thought you might appreciate the clarification." The call ended before Vanessa could respond. The reference to their cafe encounter was unmistakable. As she walked to the elevator, Vanessa noticed Emma receiving congratulations from colleagues. Apparently, the junior associate had just been assigned to a key account, an account Vanessa had been angling for. The elevator doors closed, and Vanessa leaned against the wall, suddenly exhausted. In a single day, every careful calculation she'd made, every strategic relationship she'd cultivated, had been rendered potentially worthless. Worse, the one person who could determine her fate had seen her at her most callous and judgmental. Yet amid her anxiety, a new emotion surfaced: curiosity. Ethan Cole was clearly playing a long game. The question was, what role did he envision for her in it? As the elevator descended, Vanessa made a decision. She would attend tomorrow's meeting not as the apologetic employee hoping for forgiveness, but as a woman ready to reinvent herself. If Ethan Cole valued authenticity, perhaps it was time she discovered what that actually meant. Vanessa arrived at Maison Velle headquarters at 8:15 a.m., earlier than she'd ever voluntarily come to work. She'd spent half the night selecting her outfit, a conservative black Armani suit that projected seriousness rather than her usual fashion-forward choices. Her makeup was flawless but subdued, her hair pulled back in a sleek chignon. She carried a leather portfolio containing thorough notes on all her accounts, evidence of her actual work beyond the carefully crafted image she usually projected. By 8:50 a.m., she felt as prepared as possible given the circumstances. Boardroom A, the company's most impressive conference space, occupied the corner of the 16th floor with panoramic views of the city. As Vanessa approached, she saw others gathering: department heads, senior managers, and a few seemingly random employees from various teams. Robert stood near the entrance, looking uncomfortable in a slightly too tight suit. "You're invited to this too?" he asked, confusion evident in his tone. "Apparently so," she replied, keeping her voice neutral. "Any idea what to expect?" "All I know is that Cole has been conducting individual meetings since 5 a.m., Robert whispered. "My slot was at 6:30, 20 minutes of the most direct questioning I've ever experienced. He knew details about my department that I didn't think anyone outside my immediate team was tracking." Regina from HR appeared at the doorway. "We're ready to begin. Please take your seats." Inside Boardroom A, the atmosphere was tense. A massive oval table dominated the space, surrounded by high-backed leather chairs. Place cards indicated assigned seating. Vanessa found her name near the middle of the table, not prominent, but not hidden either. To her dismay, Emma was seated 2 chairs away. At precisely 9 a.m., a side door opened and Ethan Cole entered, followed by a small group of people Vanessa didn't recognize. He wore another impeccably tailored suit, this one a subtle charcoal gray with a deep blue tie. He looked nothing like the casual, supposedly broke man from the cafe. "Good morning," he began, his voice commanding immediate attention. "Thank you all for adjusting your schedules for this meeting. I know change can be unsettling, but I believe in direct communication during transitions." He remained standing, slowly making eye contact with each person at the table. "For those I haven't had the chance to meet individually, I'm Ethan Cole. 5 years ago, I provided the capital that allowed Maison Velle to expand from a boutique French design house to the global brand it is today. Ethan began walking slowly around the table as he spoke. During that time, I maintained a deliberately hands-off approach. Antoine Vel had a brilliant creative vision, and the company was growing. However, in the past 18 months, I've observed concerning trends, declining quality control, inconsistent customer experience, and most troublingly, a corporate culture increasingly focused on image over substance. He paused directly behind Robert's chair, causing the older man to shift uncomfortably. When Antoine decided to retire last month, I saw an opportunity to realign the company with its original values of quality, authenticity, and genuine luxury, not just the appearance of it. Ethan continued his circuit, now approaching Vanessa's section. In preparing for this transition, I conducted a comprehensive review of every department. I looked for individuals who consistently delivered value, regardless of their title or connections. His gaze flickered briefly to Emma. And I identified those who advanced through less substantive means. He stopped directly behind Vanessa's chair. She could feel his presence like a physical weight. This brings me to a philosophy I've held throughout my career. Ethan continued. I believe character is revealed most truthfully when people don't know they're being evaluated. When they think no one important is watching. Vanessa's heart hammered against her ribs as she stared straight ahead, refusing to turn around. For instance, Ethan said, his voice taking on a conversational tone that sent chills down her spine. I once had an interesting experience at a cafe. A woman I was meeting for the first time told me that men who split checks are worthless, and that she doesn't waste time on broke dreamers. A few uncomfortable chuckles sounded around the table, quickly silenced by Ethan's serious expression as he moved away from Vanessa and returned to the head of the table. I share this anecdote not to embarrass anyone, he said, though his eyes briefly locked with Vanessa's, but to illustrate a point. Judgments based on appearances rather than substance are not just personally flawed, they're professionally dangerous. They cause us to overlook talent, misallocate resources, and create toxic environments. He gestured to Diane Winters, the new CMO. This brings me to the changes we're implementing. Ms. Winters will outline the new organizational structure. Diane stood and activated a presentation on the large screen. Vanessa barely registered the woman's words as an organizational chart appeared, showing dramatic restructuring across every department. Names and positions had been shuffled extensively, with many familiar executives nowhere to be seen. These changes are effective immediately, Diane concluded. Individual meetings will be scheduled throughout the day to discuss specific role transitions. Ethan stood again. I want to emphasize that these decisions were made based on demonstrated performance and potential, not tenure or connections. Some of you may be surprised by your new positions, either pleasantly or otherwise. His gaze swept the room once more. The culture of Maison Vel is changing as of today. We will no longer advance people based on who they know, who they flatter, or how they look. We will no longer tolerate the belittling of colleagues or the claiming of others' work. Robert seemed to shrink in his seat. As the meeting dispersed, Vanessa remained seated, feeling as though her body had turned to stone. Around her, reactions varied wildly. Some people were clearly devastated, others seemed cautiously optimistic. Ms. Hartley, came Ethan's voice from behind her. A word, please. The room had nearly emptied. Vanessa turned to find Ethan standing nearby, his expression unreadable. Walk with me, he said, gesturing toward the door. As they moved into the hallway, Vanessa frantically considered her options. Before she could decide, Ethan spoke. You'll be reporting to Emma Tate, he said matter-of-factly. She's been promoted to regional brand ambassador, overseeing client relationships for the Eastern Territory. The words hit Vanessa like a physical blow. Emma, the junior associate she'd belittled and undermined, was now her direct supervisor. I see, she managed. Ethan stopped walking and turned to face her. For the first time, she saw a hint of the warmth that had been present during their cafe conversation, before she'd humiliated him. Do you? He asked, his voice softer but no less direct. Because I'm not sure you do, Vanessa. Your performance metrics show you have genuine talent. Your client conversion rate is impressive. But your personnel file contains 12 complaints from colleagues about taking credit for others' work and 3 formal warnings about creating a hostile environment. Vanessa felt her carefully constructed facade beginning to crack. I didn't realize. 1 month after what employees now referred to as the reset, Maison Velle's 14th floor felt like an entirely different company. The physical space remained unchanged, still open concept, still minimalist, but the atmosphere had transformed dramatically. Gone was the undercurrent of gossip. In its place was a focused energy that Vanessa found both foreign and strangely invigorating. She sat at her desk, reviewing a presentation for the Westfield account. Her workspace had moved, no longer positioned strategically near the executives' offices, but closer to the creative team. The symbolism wasn't lost on her. "Morning, Vanessa," Emma said, approaching with 2 coffee cups. She set one on Vanessa's desk. "Got you the hazelnut latte you like." Vanessa looked up, still adjusting to the reality of Emma as her supervisor. "Thanks," she said, accepting the coffee. "I've finished the Westfield deck. Want to review it before the client call?" Working under Emma had been Vanessa's personal version of hell for the first 2 weeks. She'd vacillated between resentment, disbelief, and occasional thoughts of resignation. But a peculiar thing had happened as she'd watched the younger woman navigate her new role. Emma was genuinely good at it. She approached leadership with a collaborative style that earned respect rather than demanded it, and she publicly credited team members for their contributions, including Vanessa. It was confusing. As they reviewed the presentation, Vanessa caught sight of Robert crossing the floor toward the elevators, carrying a cardboard box. He'd been demoted 3 weeks ago, reassigned to a minor accounts maintenance role after Ethan's audit revealed years of questionable management practices. The box suggested he'd finally made the decision many had been expecting. Emma followed her gaze. "Resignation?" Vanessa nodded. "Looks like it. Can't say I'm surprised," Emma said quietly. The new performance metrics weren't flattering to his leadership style. The metrics were another of Ethan's innovations, a transparent, objective system for evaluating contributions that stripped away the protective coating of charm and connections that had previously determined advancement. Under the harsh light of actual results, many former stars had dimmed considerably. Including, Vanessa had to admit, herself. "The quarterly review meeting is at 2, Emma reminded her. "Ethan will be there. He's specifically interested in the rebranding segment." Vanessa's stomach tightened at the mention of Ethan's presence. Since their hallway conversation after the restructuring announcement, she'd had minimal direct interaction with him. He'd maintained a professional distance from Vanessa specifically. She wasn't sure if this was mercy or strategy. At the quarterly review meeting, Vanessa noticed how the rigid seating hierarchy had naturally dissolved. Department heads sat interspersed with their team members, and the creative director was engaged in animated conversation with a junior copywriter whose campaign ideas had recently doubled engagement rates. Ethan entered precisely at 2 p.m., dressed more casually than Vanessa had ever seen him at the office. Dark jeans and a charcoal blazer over a simple button-down. The contrast between this version of him and the man she'd dismissed at the cafe still unsettled her. The meeting progressed efficiently, with various teams reporting their quarterly results. When it was marketing's turn, Emma presented their performance data, highlighting both successes and challenges with refreshing honesty. "And the Westfield campaign concept was developed by Vanessa," Emma said, gesturing toward her. Her insight about their sustainability priorities really resonated with their executive team. Vanessa felt a flush of genuine pride, not at being mentioned, but at having actually done the work she was being credited for. She glanced at Ethan, who nodded slightly in acknowledgement. After the meeting, Vanessa attempted to approach Ethan, feeling a strange compulsion to, what? Apologize? Explain herself? But he was immediately surrounded by colleagues with questions and ideas. The opportunity slipped away. Back at her desk, she found an email notification for her 3-month performance review, scheduled for the following week with both Emma and Ethan. Her heart rate accelerated. This would be her first formal evaluation under the new regime. The next few days, Vanessa threw herself into preparation, not by cultivating allies or rehearsing excuses, but by actually reviewing her work, identifying areas for improvement, and developing actionable suggestions for her accounts. It was exhausting. It was also, she reluctantly admitted to herself, more fulfilling than the games she'd played for years. On Friday afternoon, she overheard two new interns discussing a human resources seminar they'd attended that morning. It was intense, one said. They used this case study about an employee who judged people based on appearances and mistreated colleagues. Right, the other replied. That cautionary tale about the woman in the cafe who humiliated a broke guy without realizing he was important. Such a good example of how assumptions can backfire. Vanessa froze, her coffee cup halfway to her lips. Her humiliation had become a company teaching moment, stripped of identifying details but unmistakable to her. She glanced toward Ethan's office. Through the glass wall, she could see him in a meeting, gesturing animatedly as he explained something to a group of designers. He never directly exposed her, never used his power to publicly shame her the way she'd shamed him. His revenge, if that's what it was far more sophisticated. He'd simply created a system where substance mattered more than style, and let her succeed or fail on her own merits. 6 months after the transformation of Maison Velle, the company held its annual gala at the Metropolitan Art Museum. The event had previously been an exercise in ostentation, a parade of designer outfits and superficial schmoozing. This year, it had been reimagined as a celebration of the brand's artisans and creative talent, with interactive exhibits featuring the craftspeople behind the luxury products. Vanessa stood near a display of hand-stitched leather goods, sipping champagne and observing the transformed company culture in action. She wore a simple black dress, still designer, but chosen for elegance rather than statement value. Her trademark diamond tennis bracelet remained at home in her jewelry box. "Quite a change from last year's event," said a voice beside her. She turned to find Emma, looking confident and relaxed in an emerald cocktail dress. "Remember how Robert spent the entire evening cornering the board members?" Vanessa replied with a small smile. "And how we all competed for the best photo ops?" Emma laughed. "Those were different times." Different indeed. The past 6 months had been the most challenging and transformative of Vanessa's career. Her 3-month performance review had been brutally honest, acknowledging her sales talents but highlighting her need to develop authentic relationships and collaborative skills. She'd left the meeting with clear metrics for improvement, and the unsettling realization that Ethan was giving her a genuine chance to evolve, not just a path to professional survival. "The regional PR director announcement is happening tonight," Emma said casually. "Nervous?" Vanessa took a measured sip of champagne. The position, her long-coveted dream role, had opened up when the previous director left for a competitor. Both Vanessa and Thomas, a formerly overlooked associate with exceptional creative vision, were the final candidates. "Oddly enough, not really," Vanessa replied truthfully. "I feel good about my presentation. If it's enough, great. If not," she shrugged. Emma looked at her curiously. "That's surprisingly zen of you." Before Vanessa could respond, a small commotion near the entrance caught their attention. Ethan had arrived, accompanied by a group of sharply dressed individuals whom Vanessa recognized as representatives from LVMH, the luxury conglomerate that had been rumored to be considering a strategic partnership with Maison Velle. "International expansion seems to be moving forward," Emma observed. Vanessa nodded, watching as Ethan effortlessly guided the visitors through the exhibition, pointing out details of craftsmanship and introducing them to key team members. He exuded confidence without arrogance, a balance Vanessa was still learning to strike. Throughout the evening, Vanessa circulated professionally, genuinely engaging with colleagues she'd previously dismissed and contributing to conversations about the company's creative direction. When the announcement for the regional PR director came, she stood calmly among her colleagues. "After careful consideration," Ethan said from the small stage, "we've decided to appoint Thomas Chen to the position of regional PR director." Polite applause filled the room. Vanessa joined in, offering Thomas a congratulatory smile that, to her surprise, contained no bitterness. He deserved the role. His campaign concepts had consistently outperformed expectations, and his collaborative approach had united previously siloed teams. As the evening wound down, Vanessa stepped onto the museum's terrace for a moment of quiet reflection. The city skyline glittered before her, beautiful and indifferent to her small professional disappointments. "Not escaping already, are you?" She turned to find Ethan standing in the doorway, silhouetted against the warm light from inside. "Just getting some air," she replied. He joined her at the railing, maintaining a professional distance. "Thomas will do well in the director role." "Yes," she agreed. "He will. Your last campaign outperformed projections by 17%, Ethan commented. "That's impressive work." Vanessa accepted the compliment with a nod. "I've been focusing on substance over style. Someone once suggested that was important." A faint smile touched Ethan's lips. After a moment of silence, he spoke again. "There's an opening for our Paris office liaison. It would mean relocating, but it also means building our European PR strategy from the ground up. I've recommended you for consideration." Vanessa turned to him in surprise. "After everything, why would you trust me with that responsibility?" Ethan's expression grew thoughtful. "Because people can change when given the right motivation and environment. 6 months ago, you were all surface, no depth. Now you're doing the work, not just taking the credit." He glanced back toward the gala. "The board is meeting next week to review candidates. Think about it." With that, he returned inside, leaving Vanessa alone with a head spinning with possibilities. The following week, Vanessa found herself at Café Laurent on a Saturday morning. She hadn't planned to return to the scene of her humiliation, but a cancelled breakfast meeting had left her in the neighborhood with time to kill. As she sipped her overpriced, mediocre coffee, the door opened, and Ethan walked in with 3 elegantly dressed individuals engaged in animated conversation. Business partners, clearly. Their table, the best in the house, was immediately ready for them. Vanessa observed quietly from her corner. 6 months ago, she would have immediately angled for an introduction, calculated the net worth of each individual, and planned how to leverage the connection. Today, she simply finished her coffee, left a generous tip, and slipped out without attempting to be noticed. Some tables were no longer ones she needed to be invited to. She had her own path to build now. As she stepped onto the sunlit street, Vanessa realized the most valuable lesson hadn't been about career advancement at all. It had been about seeing worth beyond wealth and status, including her own. The woman who had once judged a broke dreamer had finally discovered something authentic within herself. And that, more than any title or promotion, felt like success.